Good. All right. You ready?
I am ready.
Get those fucking sniffs out of the way?
Sniffs?
I don't know. It sounds like you're just sniffing.
Sorry.
Every sports fan has an opinion. Well, these are ours. Welcome to Brock and Pep's Unsportsmanlike Convo. And here are your hosts, Brock Fleming and Pep Cariotti.
All right. Welcome. Starting to get a little bit. What? Are you laughing about your
Did
sniffs?
you have to pick the sexiest picture of me in the gym for our opening?
Hey, you should have said it wasn't the sexiest one. Then it would have kept everybody wondering what could be out there.
No, that's as good as it
That's
gets.
as good as it gets.
Yeah.
I was trying to, I got to make you look good still. If I'm going to put
Thanks,
that
man.
thing together, I'm not going to, I'm not going to give you a picture of you wolfing down bags of Simple Chips at Kurt's house, like something like that. Like, just not, you're in the fitness industry, bro. So how you been?
Not bad. This week has been good. Some stuff going on with school this course that I'm taking is just awesome. If anybody who's a sports fan and has some money to burn, I guess I highly recommend this course. If it's called the Global Sports Management, it's run through NYU, New York University. And it's really, really neat. I'm learning a lot. It's the first time in my life I've been in school where I actually look forward to the next lesson. I'm learning tons. Like some of these things I posted, thing I posted this morning on our page about the NCAA.
Yeah.
I mean, I sort of kind of already knew that, but they dug a little deeper during the lesson, and just really cool stuff. Anyway, I highly recommend it. I'll continue to share tidbits of fun facts as I go along with this course. But anyway.
Don't you wish like you would do high school and then people might work or travel or do some experiences and then say, you know what, this is what I want to do with my life, and now I'll go back to school. I find that you go right to university after high school, I have no clue. You fall into whatever major happens to suit your bill at the time. You're like, oh well, I'm getting good grades in geography and education, so I guess I'll major in that. But really, what do you want to do with your life? And I think now I would appreciate going back to school. So I applaud you for registering and doing that kind of stuff. I would register too, but really I'm banking on the fact that I'll get it free from you because you'll just spew all the information back to me. So I don't think I need the certificate at this point, but the knowledge, I would like to pick your brain and hear what you're learning because I'm interested in it. But yeah, I would have liked to have done school and appreciated school for what it was, if I had done it like in my mid to late 20s even, like just a little bit later in life as opposed to focusing on trying to get out of school so quickly.
Well, it's funny. I even in school, things like being in a classroom for 75 minutes, it's for a guy like me, I can't sit still for very long. I have a hard time being in a classroom for 75 minutes. So this course that I'm taking allows me to do it at my own pace and my own speed. And the mini clips per se, I don't even know how to explain it, but the lessons, the course lessons that are being taught, they're broken up into like 8 to 10 minute segments. So you can watch one and not feel like you're overwhelmed having to sit there and watch 75 minutes to complete the damn thing. So like they're broken down, and if you want to take a break after the 1 10-minute lesson is done, you can, and you're not obligated to watch 75 minutes. It's mentally it's a lot easier to deal with than A, being in a classroom, and B, having to commit to 75 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that comes from you're not in a classroom where there's discussions and whatnot. So if you have an hour and a half class where there are discussions and activities you're doing with your fellow students, the time goes by quicker. But if it's a straight lecture style, an hour and a half is too long. And if you can break it down and go from an e-learning standpoint, I think obviously the transition is going that way too. So I think you'll see more and more, at least options for students who can't sit still for an hour and a half, you have e-learning options, which could very much be better suited for them, and they'll get more out of it. And with this whole COVID thing, that's just where it's going. So, but anyway, applaud you for taking that course. And
thanks, man.
Yeah, I am intrigued. It's all stuff that's very interesting from a sports standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd love it. Speaking of love it, these hats, man. This is my new favorite hat.
Right? Fits pretty good. The
Fits
unstructured.
like
Your head is unstructured. Therefore,
you
got to have a good head to be unstructured. If I had
so
unstructured,
my psychologist says,
yeah, I would look like I was wearing a yarmulke or something like that. But and we have a big round face. You can't wear that. But you pull it off. So yeah, they look pretty good. I think the logo looks pretty good too. Like it stands out a bit better than this is. I'm wearing the first run, which is not bad. But yeah, hey, that came in pretty clear. That's good.
Nice, eh?
It is nice.
Beautiful.
Again, the guys at Chris at Clubhouse does a great job adjusting and knowing what's going to look good and what's not going to look good. So he's still got some ideas moving forward. Again, of just maybe a mic and two bigger stars kind of thing too, like some basic stuff. And if you want, anyway, for your visor, that kind of stuff might be nice. And anyway, yada yada.
Shout out to Clubhouse on Maryville. It was the first one I think in the city. I remember my brother used to take me there when I was a teenager. And there weren't that many stores in Ottawa. In fact, I'm sure it was the only one that sold licensed apparel. Back in the day, it was hard to find. And it wasn't like you could just go online. 94, there wasn't online shopping. It was catalog crap. So, I mean, it was one of the first stores. Is that where you went to, or is there a Clubhouse closer to your house?
There's only one Clubhouse now. So it's the same owner, same Chris, and it was his father that started it. But there was the one in Maryville, then they moved. They have one on Greenbank in Barhaven. Then they had one in Canada as well, but they closed the Canada. I think it was before the COVID. It wasn't directly related, but he's just like, there's no point of us having two. So the only spot they have left is the one in Greenbank, not far from my house. But they do everything out of there. He does his own, again, designs a lot of the hats, but he has his licensed apparel as well. I remember the Maryville, though. I went there. I had a Texas basketball jersey custom made with my number, and it was like a white silk, almost like what's that?
You know what? I remember that on you, actually.
Like it was.
I remember that.
Nowadays, you'd never catch me in it, but they did a good job, and it worked for what I asked for. But anyway, yeah, they had.
And for those concerned with prices, just as being a jersey freak myself, and I'm constantly like just. If I'm not on eBay, I'm on Marketplace, and if I'm not on Marketplace, I'm on Fanatics.com. I could say that Clubhouse is par for the course in terms of market value. What you're getting, you're not overspending. You occasionally they'll have a rack of sales, but generally speaking, what they charge is what you'd normally pay. So if you're worried about overspending on a jersey at Clubhouse, you're not. It's about par for the course. So.
Yeah, actually, Chris brought up, he's like, oh, your logo is great and he showed me the hoodies he does with like 613 logo that he has and whatever, but he's like, we can make this big patch with the big, anyway, so he's got me on, the next wave is going to be getting hoodies and stuff like that for those who want them.
I love it.
And we're getting into hoodie season, which is great for fat guys, because then we get to layer up and get back ready for hibernation. But anyway.
Yes, sir.
All right. You want to do some headlines?
I do.
Let's do it.
Headlines with Brock and Pep.
Still a superhero theme. I love it.
I like it. Speaking of superheroes, I want to start with the NHL. We haven't talked about the NHL at all, really, since our teams...
Yeah, the interest level
fell off the planet.
My interest level fell right off with hockey. After, I mean, who's left? There's 3 teams left right now. But after, I guess, even when Vancouver was out, the last Canadian team. Not that was the make or break, but I just started to lose interest once. I guess when basketball started getting the playoffs and the Raptors were in it. So you get the Raptors, the Jays, and I started to lose a little bit of focus on the hockey, though.
Yeah, I think that's what happened with me. I love basketball, so I'll continue to watch. But for hockey, I don't love it enough to watch the remaining American teams play, and that's just a bold fact for me. But that being said, I do want to shout out the Dallas Stars, who are making the Stanley Cup final, and
Rick Bowness. Shout out to Rick Bowness.
Shout out to Rick Bowness. I don't think anybody saw this happening necessarily. I mean, the Stars are a veteran team, but I didn't see them making the Stanley Cup final. However, you and I brought up a team that had a couple of guys who had a lot of success throughout the 2000s, the Anaheim Ducks. And Jamie Benn and Tyler Senge remind me very much of Getzlaf and Perry. And it looks like, no matter how many years have gone by since the days of the freewheeling hockey, it still stands true today that you need your best players. You need a big guy, big power forward who can put the puck in the net, and you need a skilled guy who's not afraid to muck it up. And which brings hope to the Edmonton Oilers, because I think McDavid is not afraid to muck it up, and he's the best player in the NHL. And then Draisaitl fits that power forward style. So there's hope in Edmonton still. But if you look at all the great teams, they have that combination.
Yeah, you need more than just those two guys, and Edmonton is clearly showing that. But they have, I mean, we've talked about it for the last little while. Edmonton has the nucleus to do that. You got to start piecing the right ones around it. But yeah, Dallas is a pretty fun team to watch, and I can see the comparison you have with the Ducks. Shout out to that 2007 Ducks team that actually won the Stanley Cup here in Ottawa.
Great team.
Andy McDonald, fellow Colgate alumni. I remember being a freshman going down. He was probably a junior at the time. And being a Canadian, I'd be around the rink and stuff anyway, because it kind of reminded me of home. And there was some allure to that rink too, because the old barn at Colgate was actually part of where Slapshot was filmed, which is, for me, it was great. But I would go early in the morning. We'd have our early runs or whatever, and I would always kind of go through the rink. And because it's kind of on our way to the locker room, you can kind of scooch over. And Andy McDonald would be out there almost every time I went by when I think it's dead. And he would be out there by himself running drills and going through his motions. And he was undersized as a player and undersized in the NHL. But he ended up scoring, I think they won 2-1 in that last game, 6 or whatever it was, in Ottawa. And he got both goals. Like, he was a very, very big part of that team who won the Stanley Cup. And, I was pretty proud as an alumnus that a kid that I watched and cheered and watched him work and go through got that cup. Obviously, it sucked it was against Ottawa, but, he was pretty impressive.
Well, that Ducks team was Scott Niedermeyer was on that team, and they had, Pronger. I mean, that was a stacked
Their defense
team,
was
guys,
ridiculous.
But it's always the character guys like Andy McDonald who come up big, and they're the ones that, when the game gets really tight, they're the ones that need to step up. So anyway, Dallas Stars, congratulations. The Islanders won last night in overtime to stay alive. It's a 3-2 series. I think
Jordan Eberle scored the overtime goal, I believe.
Yeah. What's a more intriguing matchup, Dallas and Tampa or Dallas and New York?
Intriguing is probably a Dallas and Tampa. I think Tampa's got a lot to prove. Still, I know without Braden Point, and Stamkos, they're sort of shorthanded. But I think a Vasilevsky versus what's the Dallas? I love Dallas's goalie.
It's Khudobin now.
Khudobin, the chunky Russian. I say chunky. He's not chunky, but he's I don't know. He's a character, to say the least. And so it's very enjoying watching him. And Vasilevsky's got a few things he's got to prove. I think Tampa has been on the cusp for a few years, and they got to really, there's a lot more pressure on them. I think it'd be intriguing from the standpoint that Tampa has pressure and Dallas really doesn't and should be playing pretty loose. But with a lot of energy, a lot of, the old guys getting another little taste at it, and that step coming back. And, you can see the excitement in guys like Corey Perry, who, were on that 07 team but haven't been back since. And, anyway, it's I would be more intrigued in that, although I am hoping the Islanders beat Tampa, because I like the Islanders more than I do Tampa.
For sure. There's a couple of storylines, I think, in between Tampa and Dallas with, one for sure, Ben Bishop, I think, played for both teams. So, and he's not actively playing. I think it's Khudobin who's going to have the get the nod in the net. But, I mean, there's some storyline there. And, I mean, I think Tampa's the best team in the NHL, so I think it'd be nice to see Dallas play the best team in the NHL and see who wins. But I like the Islanders because I like Barry Trotz and I like their grit and the way they play. No one, again, the Islanders in the Eastern Conference Finals, I don't think anybody predicted that midway through the season. So pretty cool. Alex Galchenyuk basically cut loose by the Minnesota Wild. He could probably be had for cheap. He's regressed. You think a team picks him up, a Canadian team picks him up? Toronto, maybe he comes back to Montreal?
I honestly don't have a lot of opinion on that. I could see a team like Toronto's notorious for trying to get guys like that.
On the cheap. He's only 26.
Cheap, they think that people are going to come in there and it's kind of like Toronto likes to be what New England does in football, but unsuccessfully.
Yeah.
The Hoodie will bring guys in, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, he still does have game, and he came in, and Hoodie got the best out of him. Toronto, they bring him in, hoping he's going to do it, and they just die off. So I have no I don't know.
No say on that.
Nah. He was a have anyway. I don't follow him.
How about Panthers assistant coach Mike Kitchen? Was released from the team for kicking a player in the back full throttle after the player skated back. I think it just in frustration threw a water bottle and it hit Kitchen and it doused him with water, like it soaked him. So he kicked the guy. That's just wrong on every level. And if I was the player, I would have just been like, someone physically abused me. I'm turning around and I don't care if he's my coach.
These are like the player. We don't know what player it was, right?
They didn't. No, they haven't specified what player it was.
Okay. This coach is kicking. I guarantee he's a young player who's a role player and essentially knows that there would be more consequences for him losing his job and being, maybe cut from the team or something like that, or that's what he was worried about and wasn't comfortable enough doing it. If he was kicking somebody who was a vet, I'm not going to use Ovechkin, because that's a no-brainer, but even an established defenseman who's been in the league for 3 or 4 years, understands his role, understands how things are supposed to be run and how the people are supposed to act. And if he was kicked, regardless of the situation, I guarantee he would have pummeled that coach.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think kudos to the Florida Panthers for releasing this coach of his duties. And that's just unacceptable behavior. Craziness.
When did it happen, though? Anyway, I think it happened. My issue is that why it was addressed and brought to the coach and GM's attention, I think, right after the game. And I feel like I have to check dates, but I thought that there was a bit of, it took too long for him to be fired. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But if it is, that was my one issue with it.
Well, we can follow up on that. I know there was a follow-up story about Bill Peters doing the same thing to a player. The same Bill Peters who's being accused of racial slurs in the locker room with Keem Aliu. I guess there was another incident with an African-American player where he kicked him. Anyway, don't have a lot of news to report on that, but if we do find out some more, we can talk about it. That's all I got for hockey. Really, again, we're our interest, like we said, it's waned since our teams sort of fell off the map. But I did want to talk a little bit of Jays. They're not guaranteed a playoff spot. Toronto Blue Jays, that is. They're not guaranteed a playoff spot. I think a week and a half ago, I'm still excited. I think we're all excited, but we started to see some chinks in the armor when they got hammered by the New York Mets. They ended up winning that series 2-1. But game one of that series, they got hammered like 17-2 or something like that. We saw the same thing last night against the New York Yankees. Brock, their defense is atrocious.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is we sort of are living and dying by how many runs we can put up and can we make the plays that we need to make. If we need to make a defensive play that is outside the regular professional ability plays, So routine double plays, routine fly balls, even that last night with Derek Fisher showed to be too much for him. We're toast. And I don't know. I went to bed. It was before I think the game was over officially last night. And I was thinking, I was like, should there be a rule in baseball, especially in a shortened season with 60 games, to be like, you know what? In the sixth, when we have Giles on the mound in the sixth and whatever, just say, you know what? We're good, guys. You guys take it. Let's move on. It's a short season. Let's get to bed. Let's whatever. Rest your arms. You know what I mean? So you can say, oh, maybe we can come back. Yeah, sure, there's some of that. But just say, look, I don't want to put another guy out there that I can't use tomorrow night or whatever. So let's just call it a day and move on. Nobody's watching it from a fan standpoint. The players aren't really into it. Just call it.
They talked about that in the preseason about like a forfeit after 7, which I think is fair. It's two full innings can last. Who knows? Like it took them an hour and a half to play 4. It took them 2 hours to play 4 innings last night. So, shortening the game by 2 innings if it's a blowout. I'm good with it. We've seen teams come back from 10 runs, but when it's 17,
wave the white flag. Yeah,
wave the white flag. Call it a day. My issue last night wasn't so much the actual error; it was the timing of it. Your pitcher's rolling. It's the second inning. He's only thrown 25 pitches. Okay, in the majors now, teams are taking counts 3-2 almost every at bat. So for a guy to get through 2 innings at 25 pitches, he's rolling. I mean, that's a 6 or 7 inning start from your starting pitcher. That's what teams want. 25 pitches. Fisher drops a fly ball in his glove, like literally in his glove. He wasn't diving. He wasn't turning. He wasn't in his glove. The inning continues. Next batter up. Hits a ball towards Fisher. He runs into the wall because he has no sense of where he's spatial awareness. Run scores, and then all of a sudden, home run. It's 7-1. He's up to 41 pitches. I mean, what? Yeah. First of all, Derek Fisher has no business being on that roster. He showed me nothing. He showed me no defense. He showed me a little bit of speed as a pinch runner, but really, Espinal could be that guy. I mean, it's just atrocious what he's brought to the team, and why Atkins and Shapiro are in love with this guy. But it's their quote. It's his power is intriguing. His power? What? I've seen nothing. He hit a home run a couple games ago. So what's the deal, Brock? Why do they keep this guy on their roster? They have plenty of options.
Well, when you see guys like that, I think, why aren't we keeping a guy like Kevin Pillar? Where I say, you know what? Defensively, the guy is a stud. He is a guy who covers so much ground and makes that outfield 10 times better immediately for being on the field. Sure, he goes through ups and downs at the plate. But if he can take walks and you can work with him, you got Dante Bichette there and stuff. Maybe you work with him on the hitting. If he gets on base, takes more walks, he's a threat to steal. Like, he's very athletic. He's a character guy. Those are the guys I say, you know what? I can live with striking out or maybe not coming through in the clutch in terms of like at the bat. But because everybody, no matter how good you are, the best player in baseball is going to hit, 4 out of 10 times. So it, like they say, it's a sport of failure. But if you can't catch an outfield fly ball or you can't make the defensive play when you need to, that's the issue I have. So I would much rather see them get rid of Fisher. I don't care what his power is. And for the record, I'm at a stage where I look and I watch these highlights and I cringe. I feel so bad for the athlete. I feel bad for Fisher. Like, anybody who's ever played sports at a high level has made some screw up that's enough that you just feel the blood rush out of your face and you just want to crawl under a rock. That's what happened. And then what happened is he got another ball back, and you hope that he can make the catch and sort of get over it, but you are so mentally toast that makes it even harder the second time to do it. And then from a pitcher standpoint, he was rolling, but not only was it a pitch count going up, but you already had that, like, he was walking off the field like, I got this done, and then you say, oh, shit. And so mentally, you're now in the dugout taking a break, and you got to come back and focus. That's tough to do. But I would rather see the Jays get Pillar and put it like I miss him. I miss that kind of guy in the outfield. I miss him. Ryan Goins was another guy that I'm like, you know what? If a ball is hit anywhere near him, he's going to make that spectacular play. He's going to do what he has to do. Sure, he's not hitting 300, but I'll take those guys that make things happen on the defensive side before I take a guy who maybe hits home runs more often.
Well, look at the history of the AL East. Every team, every successful team, the Rays, the Yankees, the Red Sox, who've been good for the last 2 decades, they have got veteran guys who they can count on defensively. Brett Gardner, Aaron Hicks, these guys aren't studs, but they're consistently good on defense. The Red Sox have had Pedroia has been on that team for years. He's still, I believe, actually on their team. Before him, Johnny Damon, guys that they can count on. The Jays just sort of shuffle out their outfield every couple of years, and Teoscar at least can make up for his defensive woes by slugging. And Fisher just hasn't. So anyway, I would have liked to see them keep Billy McKinney, a guy who works hard and is slightly above average in the field. A guy who's going to dive for a ball. Anyway. It was very frustrating to watch. 20-6 loss in game 1. I mean, are they going to repeat what they did against the Mets and win the next 2? Who knows? But nothing's a sure shot here, guys. And Yankees have just leapfrogged the Jays, and there's 2 teams hot on their tails. So the Jays, this is not a sure shot, It's
not a sure shot, and the Yankees are starting to get a bit healthy too, which is not going to make things any easier. But like you said, I think you texted me last night, the Jays got to start focusing because I think playoffs start September 29th, I saw. So if they're not going to start taking that next level, shift gears, say we are in playoff mode at this point. So you play the guys who are going to get you there, get some sort of chemistry going. You see not Bichette. Who's their stud?
Biggio.
Thank you. Biggio's playing multiple positions all over the place. He plays them well, but you got to start having a starting 9 who you go to and you say, this is what we're starting the game with. And every game we're going to start with this or whatever until we're at a spot where we can start putting some replacements in. But you need to start getting that cohesiveness and chemistry now, or it's going to be too late.
Yeah, anyway. I'll take that to another level, Brock. Even just the batting lineup. And part of that is Charlie Montoyo. He has to take some credit for what's gone on, but he also has to take some blame for every day is a different lineup. The only consistency he's had is Biggio at the top of the lineup and Bichette, I think, hitting 2 consistently now. But, he flip-flops Guerrero all over the lineup. He's got Shaw, he's hitting 230 with 5 home runs or whatever. He's got Shaw hitting 3rd. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I know Tellez is out with an injury, but, like, what are you trying to do with your lineup? I do like Alejandro Kirk a lot. I know he's going to be a great major league catcher with a few more years under his belt. He looks like he's a good receiver so far up to now, and his bat's pretty solid. So the Jays may have found their catcher of the future. No offense to Jansen, but Jansen hasn't shown me anything at the plate. So anyways, the Jays going to be tough next couple of weeks. We're still cheering for them. I'm still excited. Don't get me wrong, but they got to tighten up their D. Quick NBA take, Brock. Did you watch any of the Clippers Nuggets game last night?
I watched some of it. Again, I didn't stay up as late. I got to get ready for a Rinks and Links tournament this weekend, so I got to start getting used to getting up a little bit earlier because I'm supposed to be playing goalie at like 8 in the morning. And Rocky's out of shape, out of getting up, stiff. Anyway, it's going to be a long Saturday. But anyway, I got up. I didn't watch look at any of the scores. I went and watched the highlights. When I went to bed, the Clippers were up. At one point, they were up 16, and then Denver had come back to bring it to within about 6. So I was like, you know what? I'm out, but I'm going to check this out and see what happens. And I missed a pretty good finale. Well, not the actual last seconds, but, I mean, our Canadian boy Murray is playing pretty good basketball right now.
He outscored Leonard and George combined.
George only had 10 points.
George was 2 for 13 or something like. No, he was 2 for 12 from 3-point land, and he was like 4 for
15 or something stupid from the
Awful.
field.
Look, Leonard wasn't much better. Leonard only had 14 points. So I mean, I don't know what to say about Denver. They were down 3-1 to the Jazz, came back and won that. They were down 3-1 to the Clippers. Not only were they down 3-1 to the Clippers, Brock, but the two games that they won, games 5, 6, and 7, all three of them,
They were down by double digits.
down by
16
double
plus or
digits in
whatever,
the third quarter.
Yeah.
And came back. I mean, and watching them play basketball is beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful pick and roll. Jokic sets the most perfect screens. He's not running into the guy. He never gets an offensive foul when he's setting a screen. He's fundamentally perfect when it comes to those little things. He rolls to the basket. He's a phenomenal passer. He made a behind-the-back pass yesterday, behind-the-head pass, no look. So two hands this way, right in Jamal Murray's hands. I mean, the commentators were losing their marbles. I was losing my mind. I mean, he is literally 7'1" Larry Bird. So Nikola Jokic, if you haven't seen him play, if you don't watch the Denver Nuggets, which I mean, I don't think I've watched that many of their games this year because they played late.
And they're
what
not
a
on our TV market.
Fun team to watch. Paul Millsap, a veteran player, he's playing outstanding basketball. They're just so fun to watch. They're so fun to watch. They're going to give the Lakers all they can handle. Believe me, they're going to give the Lakers all they can handle. I know the Lakers match up well against them, so I'm interested to see. But congratulations to Mike Malone and the Denver Nuggets crew. Great coaching staff, fun team, and classy. Did you hear Murray and Jokic post-game interview?
Murray's, yeah.
Where they were doing it together on the court.
No, I didn't see that one.
Those guys clearly love each other. It's so cool. Joker's he's a prankster, right? He's just a fun guy, easygoing guy, and he's wow. They're so fun to watch. They're lovable. They're quickly now one of my favorite teams. So that's all I got for that. The Miami Heat beat the Boston Celtics last night in overtime. The Heat are a handful.
I saw that block. I can't remember or can't pronounce his name, but the block he did on Tatum in overtime, like the different angles I watched of that block was just more and more impressive. His wrist was like backwards into the rim, into the cylinder, and he like brings it back out. It was insane.
Bam Adebayo.
Is that a sound bite or is that his name?
That's his name. He was actually last year in summer league. He was. They had Hassan Whiteside in camp, who was their starting center, and they drafted Bam Adebayo. But no one. He had practice squad written all over him. Like he wasn't coming out of college. He wasn't a big scorer, and But he's just a typical like work hard, work on my game, improve, and his learning curve was like steep, but his improvement was just as impressive. So, wow, amazing stuff. Great block, beautiful block.
Yeah, that'll be a good. It's already a good series. Like I said, you asked me if I was going to watch it. I didn't watch Game 1. Normally, Game 1s are pretty lame. That one lived up to the bill, so it's going to be an intense.
No doubt.
I'm curious to see how the Celtics come back, but I was curious to see that before. But they've proved themselves. Jimmy Butler is a gamer, so it's going to be. It's good for Miami. Anyway, a good series. We'll see who gets through. I think the Denver Lakers game series is going to be pretty interesting as well. So
I have one more question for you, Brock.
Yep.
Related to what I posted this morning with regards to the NCAA and its athletes, and we could probably do a whole show on this.
100%.
But my question to you is: should NCAA, and let's call a spade here. Should the NCAA, and it's primarily college football and men's college football, men's college basketball. Who are we kidding? They generate so much money. Should the NCAA consider investigating a minor league system as an affiliate, so these kids can actually get paid? And we see it in baseball, where the minor league guys, they're not paid a ton, but they're paid. The NCAA, these athletes are making their institutions so much money, and they're seeing nothing in return other than we discussed before off air, like tuition. Is something going to change? I mean, I know there's a lot of litigation right now.
It's already changed to a point. So there's, I think most states have approved it, but now, so if you go on to YouTube, you start looking at YouTube. There's a receiver for Oklahoma State that not that I follow, but I've seen a few of his videos where he's got friends that are like Odell Beckham Jr. and I think his brother might play somewhere or some another alumni. But anyway, he's got like videos that compare the day of life of a college player versus a professional player. So it was him doing his whole day, and then Mike Williams of the Chargers doing his whole day. And it's kind of, the variances, whatever. And I looked at him like, there's a lot of views. And I was looking, and he's got a lot of videos. He's got, I took over Odell's house for the day, and he's got that video. Anyway, he's got a lot of followers. They've allowed athletes, collegiate athletes, to profit off of social media platforms like they do now. I don't know if there's no video game yet, but if they do have the video, there was a lawsuit that was, upheld or whatever for people getting compensated for likeness in NCAA football games and stuff. And you say, okay, you're in the game, you get certain, some money. So they can make money other places, but it's not directly paid for the product they're putting on the field. So it's changed to a point, but it's also not necessarily, because unless you're one of those top faces, you're not really going to be benefiting a lot from those kind of avenues. But they are putting the same amount of effort in, the same amount of contribution to the team and what they're doing on the field. So I think they deserve something. That's again, I don't have a specific answer for that question. It's interesting. They do have to find something, but I know from an NCAA standpoint, their concern is losing, like the affiliation with the schools. That's obviously a huge thing for NCAA. So if it's a semi-pro, is it the school's semi-pro thing, or is it like a major hockey where it's like the whole Olympics are there, they go to that school still, but they're getting paid because it's an affiliate program or whatever. Not affiliate program, but like a semi-pro type feel. So if they lose that connection to the schools, I know the schools aren't going to want that because that's direct revenue for the school. And the NCAA and themselves are not going to be doing the investigation. Let's be serious, because am I going to go investigate how I can take money out of my pocket and put in somebody else's? You know what I mean?
Well, that's it. Right?
Generally
that's
not.
it, exactly.
So the NCAA is not going to do that. Somebody has to do that. I don't know if it comes down from the NFL and stuff too, because it's such a feeder thing right to the pros that there is a relationship there, and they gotta, I know that the NFL supports the NCAA as that kind of relationship, and I just don't know whose best interest it would be. So it's going to be the players that are going to have to really sort of stand up for themselves, but it's hard to do as a student athlete. So it's a question that is for a longer debate, a lot more thought into it, a lot more research into it. But I would love to discuss this further on an actual episode for it. Bring in a couple guys that I know who are a little bit more entrenched into that life, and see where maybe there's some possibilities, there's some issues, that kind of stuff. But would love to discuss that further, because it's a huge thing.
I know NCAA football is slightly ahead of the curve when it comes to progress here. I know the TV rights have changed in NCAA football, but basketball not so much. So, I mean, they've got work to do. But yeah, there's dialogue now. Before it seemed like in the 80s and 90s, everything was so rigid with the NCAA. They were like the king of the kings of the hill, and there was no questioning anything that they did or anything that they implemented. Now, at least there's some dialogue, so that's a good start. I do think these kids put in a work week when it comes to what they put into their programming, into their sport. So, I mean, 40 hours a week, that's what we work. So, but we're paid for it. These guys have to put in 40 hours a week and go to school.
Yeah,
so
and not get paid for it.
That's crazy. Anyway, a debate for another time. So, we want to get to the NFL. I'll let you take the lead on this.
Let's do this. We're gonna finish this one, okay? Because it's already too long. So we're gonna this is headlines. We went over it.
What are we, 30?
We're at almost 40 minutes now.
What? Okay, fair. That's crazy.
We're gonna end this episode. You and I will stick around, and we'll do the NFL one. But we're gonna end this. So, sayonara to everybody on the video.
Peace.
But for those on the